or something?
We have a history of flooding on a number of our rivers. The Tongariro and the Tauranga Taupo are good examples, and as I say, we've now got some up-to-date information which shows much better the areas that might potentially be affected.
So you're limiting the scope of your work to those known points?
And the lake flooding that was identified through the flood and erosion.
Have we been forced to do this under some legislation?
We've got a responsibility under Section 31 of the Resource Management Act.
Cool. Well, I had a mover on the floor, Councillor Henderson, seconded, I think, by Councillor Kirk. Anybody want to speak against the motion? Being no one, all those in favour? Aye. Carried. Thank you. Item number 11, Mighty River Power Resource Consent Review. You've obviously all read this. I just want to add, subject to this, you'll see a letter with my signature on it here. I received a couple of phone calls and some emails during the night, which I haven't had time to circulate around to you good people. I do intend to do it when I can. They were from Johnny Bell and Hamish Brookie, who are basically the ringleaders, for want of another word, or the leaders of Friends of Lake Taupo, it's called, Friends of Lake Taupo, who feel, their words to me, they felt that my letter here was underpowered. And I said, well, that's fine. And they are coming to do a presentation to Council at the August meeting. I think it'll be a very similar presentation to one that Laurie Burdett and I attended in Kuritown. I think, Gary, you might have been there. Rob, Councillor Hip, were you there? Yeah, Councillor Henderson was there. A presentation I did, they're coming here to do it to Council. So I would just like somehow in this suggested resolution that we do what the suggested resolution says, with the proviso that we may wish to forward more on the subject at a later date. I'm just going to leave it to the councillors for a minute, see if there's any questions. Councillor Minsha?
Yeah, Nick, just in the letter from attachment the Waikato Regional Council, one of the paragraphs just at the bottom, it says to ensure a sound legal bias for the consideration the need for a review. Council has obtained legal advice which we are happy to make available on a request. Have we seen that, or can we get that?
We can get
can
that.
We ask
I
for
can
that? Yeah,
get a copy and circulate to all councillors.
It'd be very interesting to see what it is, since they've put it in there. They haven't provided it. You'd think they'd provide it. Rather, it seems catchy to put it in there. So I wouldn't mind seeing that.
So if we go back to the resolution, Council advocates. I'm sorry, Councillor Williams?
I just want to be assured that the review that Waikato Regional Council undertakes, first of all, I personally would like to send a strong message to them to have a review that, because I understand under the last review it was a bit of a closed shop. And I think that we as councillors, myself, have certainly had a lot of, not just from the Friends of Lake Taupo, but there's been substantial concern in the community, and I think that this must be a fully open and transparent process that they undertake. And I think, for me as a councillor, I would like to ensure that that happens. And I also would like to see that. Just as an addendum to the Mayor's letter, that while I don't agree, I have to say I don't agree with some of the extreme stance that the Friends take, that they want to see the lake get back to its natural state. It is in fact a hydro lake, but I would like to see the responsibility for some more, probably some more in-depth monitoring over time by Mighty River Power, so that there's more information available, which I think would be constructive both for them and for our community, as far as people understanding having some factual base in which to make their accusations, rather than at the moment there's just a lot of anecdotal evidence that's flying around, anecdotal accusations flying around with really no factual base. So I think that's another reason why this review is just so important.
Councillor Barnard?
Yeah, the trouble is, Councillor Williams, is that another part of the paragraph here that they have from the Waikato Regional Council is we emphasise, however, that the decision whether to review is the sole discretion of the council, and that there is no statutorily mandate public input into that decision. So you kind of wonder, on one hand they're saying that, and on the other hand they're asking, how far, I know this process has been going on for 10 years.
Well, if you read my third paragraph of my letter,
Yep.
It says, you gave us the mandate for this in one of our workshops or something. Yep. The decision to initiate the review is of such significance that it should be made by councillors rather than delegated to officers of the WRC. That's what we're advocating for, exactly what you're saying, Councillor Downo, but...
Yeah, I know. It's hard when Waikato Regional Council are then putting in their letter, statements like that.
Yeah, but it's just...
And you're replying to that. I appreciate that.
Yeah, all we can actually do is advocate. We're not scientists ourselves, and I'll be the first to agree with Councillor Williams that it is a hydro lake and has its consequences, but we all like to keep warm. Councillor Henderson?
I think with that statement they're really just setting out what the facts are, in terms of they're the ones who can make this decision. They have the discretion to do that, whether they have a review or not. So I don't have too much of an issue with that. I think the key thing with this is to have input into shaping potentially what could be the scope of the review, and that's not for us to decide, obviously. Just in that regard, I wanted to clarify what is the window, further information can be accepted. Obviously this letter is being sent, but
I've got an email this morning. They've given us another 31 days. Where are those emails? Still on my desk. Yeah. We've been given another 31 days after the date, which allows us to hear from Friends of Lake Taupo at our August council meeting.
Yep.
We've got to have our bullets all fired by the end of September.
Okay, thanks.
Just to clarify, the window of opportunity that the Waikato Regional Council has to initiate a review is a 6-month window. It commences in April next year and runs through to November. So that's the period within which they must contact Mighty River Power and say, we wish to initiate a review, if they're going to. One of the elements that they've been very unclear about to date in their correspondence has been what's the process leading up to that point where they make a decision about whether to actually have a review at all. And that's, you'll see at the end of this letter, that's one of the elements we're seeking some further information on. What is that process? When will it take place? Who will make the decisions? So once we've got the information, we'll be able to forward it on. And there may therefore be further opportunities to provide additional information.
But at this point in time, they've given us, Friends of Lake Taupo, and other concerned people, and we are concerned people because we're property owners of reserves, etc., that have suffered damage. So they have given us at this stage till September the 31st. Then they will go and make some sort of decision, whether they look to have a review, whether councillors make the decision. That's all. That's in their ball court, isn't it? At the moment, we've got till September the 31st to help advocate if we want a review done.
Correct.
Or push for a review to be done.
Moved.
Could we add that piece on, though, please, to the suggested resolution before you move, please?
I've got some suggested wording here if you'd like to.
Have you? Oh, please, yep.
Yeah.
This is added to the resolution?
So the resolution would read that Council advocates for a review of Mighty River Power's consent conditions with Waikato Regional Council and reserves the right to forward further information on this matter to Waikato Regional Council as it comes to hand.
Okay, is that a move for you, Councillor Downo?
Yep.
Councillor Williams, is that a second?
Yep.
All in favour?
Aye.
Carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
End of item number 12. Probably take this one as read. Ms. Gilbert.
Good afternoon. Just briefly in relation to this, there's some changes in governance and structure around, basically around built heritage. So the Historic Places Act of 1993 is about to get repealed, and then the current Historic Places Trust gets set up under a new name, the Heritage New Zealand Poheru Taonga. We continue the Maori Heritage Council, and there's a bunch of provisions under the Historic Places Act that get consolidated relating to the protection of historic places. And there's also some new provisions in relation to granting archaeological authorities. we've had a look at it and said the really important thing we think from this council's perspective is that we have historic sites in the district that we identify and put in our district plan, and those that we if you like, have a statutory responsibility to make sure we have appropriate rules and protections for. However, there's a bunch of other historic sites in the district that we don't identify in the plan. They're identified by historic places, and we'd like them to continue to manage and protect those. So what we're saying is, yes, can we have the status quo on this? Don't hand all of that responsibility over to us, because there probably won't be a cheque coming with the responsibility. Do what you do, but keep doing what you do.
Yes,
Williams, sorry.
Yes, Ms. Gilbert, I understand from members of Ngāti Tū Whārotoa that there are a significant number, I think some 24 historic sites that are treasured by the people of this region. Just as an aside to this resolution, could we make that as a note to be discussed when we do have the opportunity to meet with the board of Ngāti Tū Whārotoa, because I guess that would either tie in with work we're doing or the Historic Places Trust interest in this area. And I think I understand those sites have all been identified, but there's talk around their preservation and possible promotion.
Yep.
To open them to the public.
That's fine. I mean, part of why we don't put all heritage sites, we don't actually list them all in the district plan, is because some become extremely more vulnerable if you put them on a list and write down the address for them. Oh. And so part of the protection mechanism is not to put them in public documents like that. Oh, right. But we can put that on the agenda for subsequent meetings.
Councillor Henderson?
I was just wanting to move the suggested resolution, but I see some others want to speak, so that's fine.
I'll take the moving and record that, and then we'll go to Councillor Downer, then Councillor Coop.
I was just going to say with Councillor Williams is that a lot of them also in Ngāti Tū Whārotoa and hand with DOC and other affiliated parties like the prisons help look after some of these heritage sites. I think if we put them in our pocket, then we'd have to look after them, to a certain extent. So, as Mrs. Gilbert said, this is virtually status quo. The ones that are getting looked after by the Historic Trust are saying, yeah, look after them, and then we look after ours.
All I was going to say was pretty much the same, and perhaps it can be another thing looked at if DOC go ahead with their destination plan of the Tongariro National Park.
I have a mover of Councillor Henderson on the floor, seconded Councillor Hickling. All those in favour?
Aye.
Thank you. Another beauty, tree and vegetation policy. Had a good read of it. Most of them need removing in my opinion. However, we will hear from Ms. Rawley. Welcome, Ms. Rawley.
Thank you. I actually have a PowerPoint presentation with some photos if you'd like to see some of the trees in question. I can just flick through these for you. This is Reed's Farm. These are some very large poplars down by the toilets, the new toilets and camping area. You can see the toilets there and see the scale of the trees next to them.